Well, Broncos country, a mile high salute, man. Hope you guys are all staying warm in this crazy weather. Let's talk about Bo Nix and where his season, if it were to end today, would stack up against the other rookie quarterbacks, the great rookie quarterback seasons of all time. We got some great data, and I'm looking forward to sharing it all with you guys, and we can break it down and get your thoughts from it. Before we get into that, yo, if it's your first time on the channel, very much appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining. If you love Denver sports, you love the Nuggets, you love the Avs, and if you love the Broncos, we don't talk about Rockies on this channel for sure, though. Consider hitting that subscribe button. It'll really help me out. And once you do that, tell a friend and have the friend tell a friend. Let's build this thing out. I appreciate you guys. And don't forget to like the video too. That little thumbs up there, give it a little smasheroni for me. All right, guys, I appreciate it. So I compiled some stats. I basically prorated what Bo Nix's predicted end of season stats would be, and we're putting them all together, and we're going to kind of compare and contrast. Now, there's a couple things. I don't just look at completion percentage, yards, touchdowns, interceptions. There's two advanced data metrics that you can find on PFF, which I'll share with you, that I think are really, really important in terms of not just being a good quarterback, but especially for rookie quarterbacks. And that is the pressure to sack percentage. So, how many times are they pressured and ultimately sacked? And then the other one is going to be the turnover worthy plays. So, what percentage of the throws were turnover worthy versus what weren't? Obviously, you want both of those levels to be lower. So, you know what? Without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and break it down and kind of show you how all this looks. All right, so this is what we got here. Okay, so as you can see, I've compiled the rookie seasons for Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, and CJ Stroud. That's mainly because they're pretty much the consensus top three when you look at a lot of different articles and a lot of companies that that really talk about this and discuss it in terms of the great all-time rookie quarterbacks. And we had broken it down with completion percentage, yards, touchdowns, interceptions. TWP is what I was talking about of turnover worthy plays. What percentage of that? And P2S percent is pressure to sack percentage. I think those are very important metrics. You guys want me to talk about like ADOT and average yards per attempt, all that kind of stuff? We can do that. There's really not much differences between all of them. The discrepancy is not very big. So I just felt like these were really good stats to go through. Now, obviously, if they're green, that means they're the leaders in that category. If they're red, that means they're the lowest. And Bo Nix's stats with the asterisks are all projected. So I just took his average per games on all those, projected it out for the 17-game season, and this is where we're at. So let's break it down, guys. So far, if Bo were to continue on the trajectory that he's on now, and to be fair, if he did, these numbers would actually be higher because I just compiled all of them. So even that really slow start they had. He's at 65% completion. He's going to finish with right around 3,800 yards, 24 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. His turnover worthy place percentage is just 1.4%, and his pressure to sack percentage is at 14.1%, which this one, actually, the turnover worthy play percent is actually tied for first in the NFL with Lamar Jackson, and he's pretty high up with the pressure to sack percentage. But these are important because when you look at rookie quarterbacks specifically, these are the two areas where you see them tend to struggle more, right? They're obviously going to make more mistakes, which is going to make their turnover worthy play percentage higher. They're also not going to always handle sacks very well, or they hold on to the ball a little bit too long. So you expect for those two things to be high. And I think that's the number one thing that I'm the most impressed with Bo is not only are these metrics the best of all of these rookies quarterback seasons, but they're actually they are the lowest or among the lowest in the entire NFL. So those are some things that we should be really, really excited about. Now, when you're breaking down Russell Wilson in the 2012 season, completion percentage was right around the same as Bo. He threw for less yards, a little bit more touchdowns, more interceptions, turnover worthy plays 1.8, and you can see pressure to sack is 17.6. Dak Prescott had a really impressive rookie year, 67.8% there, 3,600 yards, 23 touchdowns, which is low. He did add he had a total of 29 touchdowns. So here's kind of the total with rushing. We break down. Only 4 interceptions, turnover worthy plays 2.4%, and the pressure to sack there is going to be 14.2%. Now, here's the thing about CJ Stroud. I still think CJ Stroud probably had the best rookie quarterback. He wasn't really the consensus number one on anybody's list, but I thought he was impressive for a lot of reasons. But I can also see where there was a little bit of signs that he was a rookie, right? So his completion percentage was the lowest, but it's still a very, very high. Amazing, 4,100 yards, 37 touchdowns, 14 picks is, well above the highest of the guys on this list. But his turnover worthy play percentage at 2.9 was the highest, and his pressure to sack percentage at 19.6 was also the highest. But he had a total of 40 touchdowns. So, dude was an absolute playmaker. There's no doubt about it. Now, what does this tell me? There's a lot of factors that can go into this. But I think if you look at all of these players in terms of who they had at the skill position players during their rookie season and what kind of a defense they had and what kind of a run game that they had, I think we would all agree that Russell Wilson was probably in the best situation. He had beast mode. He had one of the best defenses in NFL history. And he has some, really solid weapons around him. Dak Prescott was in a pretty decent position as well there with Dallas. They didn't have necessarily the best defense at that time. But he has some wonderful weapons around him back in 2016. And then, man, CJ Stroud really did not have that much last year in Houston. You can argue and say that he's got a lot more this year, but he's actually kind of taken maybe a little bit of a step back. Um, but really not the best offensive line last year in Houston. Really no semblance of a run game, but he did have a good defense. And so what's nice about this is it's really, I believe, an even playing field because Bo Nix has got a very good defense, as we know. Skill position players, not very good. The run game that he has to support him, below the league average. And yet he's still able to, set the standard in terms of completion percentage, the amount of yards, the touchdown to interception ratio, especially given that he didn't throw his first touchdown until week 4. Um, but what really impressed me the most and why I'm so excited to be a Bronco fan, I think Broncos country as a whole should be super fired up about, is the turnover worthy plays is incredibly low at 1.4%. And granted, guys, like 1% makes a huge difference. It means like the difference between being first and 20th when you're looking at these stats. And to be able to do that over the course of 12 games is incredibly impressive. Hopefully, something that we can see continuing. And then the pressure to sack percentage. What that's saying is Bo is either A, getting rid of the ball so that he doesn't ultimately get sacked when he's pressured, or B, he's able to use his legs to get himself out of trouble, be able to get the ball downfield. And I think a lot of it has to do with just getting the ball out because, Russell Wilson is arguably the most athletic of all the quarterbacks on this list when he was a rookie. And yet his is still fairly high. Dak Prescott, a little bit closer to where Bo Nix was. And, 30 total touchdowns. So you're talking about a quarterback that is on pace to have a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. If you look at the last 8 games, it's like more like 12-to-1 in terms of what it'll end up being at. Sorry, it's more like 6-to-1. It's very, very impressive. And I think that when you're stacking them up against all other rookie quarterback conversations in terms of the overall season performance, you could put him anywhere between 1 to 10. But the most important thing, guys, is he's definitely trending to be in that conversation, which is why I think he's the front runner to be the rookie of the year. Now, I think it's always important to keep a lot of this into perspective, right? What history shows is that a successful rookie season does not translate to you having a very successful career. There's a lot of guys that didn't really have the best rookie year, but are elite level quarterbacks. Now, obviously, like Patrick Mahomes isn't on this because he technically started in his second year, but if you look at his first year starting, extremely impressive. So there's a lot of that. And so what I've been really impressed with as well with Bo is that he's shown that there's still a very high ceiling. There's still a lot of room for growth, and he can really build upon this. But I just thought that those stats were interesting. I'd love to know what you guys think below in terms of Bo Nix overall, his not just his season for the Denver Broncos, but how would you stack him up when you're comparing him to the other great rookie quarterback seasons? Let me know below, guys. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Very happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Stay safe. Spend time with those you love the most. Go Broncos, baby. Until next time.